So you decided to unlock the Yak-141. Aside from its ability to turn heads, the Yak-141 is an incredibly capable aircraft with some of the more advanced weapons in the Soviet arsenal at its disposal, and some impressive performance for the skies, all for the low battle rating of 12.7. Now, I know what you might be thinking, Kale, if the Yak-141 was so good, then why aren't there a metric fuck ton of videos out there on it? And to that end, I say that it probably has to do with the severely anemic amount of traffic that making a video on this plane brings, and account for its somewhat low search rate. Not only do only a small number of people even know that this plane exists, but even out of the people who do, it ends up severely underestimated, and account for how complicated it is to use well. This means less people bringing it into matches, and less people figuring out about how good it actually can be. So, without further ado, let's get right into the Yak-141. For those of you who know nothing about the Yak-141, let's provide a little bit of context. The Yak-141 is the latest plane of the Yak line of the Soviet tech tree, offering the latest and greatest weapons of the time, as well as some handsome performance buffs over the previous aircraft, the Yak-38. While both share similarities, including missile count and being VTOL or vertical takeoff and landing capable, that's where the similarities end, since the Yak-38 is a steaming pile of horse shit, and the Yak-141 is the horse itself. Not only are its weapons far superior, but literally everything else about it is, making it somewhat unbelievable that the same Air Bureau produced them both. This obviously brings into question why the Soviets didn't mass produce the fighter if it was so good, and to that end I say, money's a bitch comrade. In reality, the fighter was developed at an inopportune time, facing funding issues in lieu of the collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 1990s, making this fighter program one of the lesser concerns for the new Russian Federation, in which they decided to fund the Sukhoi projects instead. In-game, you have access to multiple different air-to-air weapons, including infrared R-60s, R-27s, and some radar R-27s as well. In my experience, you're probably gonna have a bit more luck with a loadout that looks something like this, carrying the R-27 ET so you don't have to carry the flare-eating piggy that is the R-60M, while still having an answer to low-flying opponents. You will of course have to take this in place of your R-27ER, but you will still have access to the regular R-27Rs. They aren't quite as good at maneuvering against agile opponents, but you can compensate for this by firing them from slightly farther, and the difference will be rather unnoticeable if you use it correctly. For dealing with ground targets, you have access to multiple different types of bombs and missiles, though they are honestly not that great compared to the weapons you can carry on other Soviet aircraft, making the Yak-141 somewhat ill-suited to ground missions compared to your other options. For air matches, you want to stay low and carry a load full of flares. This might not be the easiest strategy to employ in account of all the trees, but with enough practice, multipathing missiles will become second nature. You should try to bring around 20 minutes worth of fuel, looking to have somewhere around 10 to 12 minutes of fuel by the time you get to the battlefield. Once there, you should look for opponents that are either distracted or moving away from you, where you will employ your R-27ET to go eat their afterburner for a nice cash prize. When you see an enemy directly headed at you or up high, send them a quick notification, sending them back to the hangar with your R-27R, and repeat on the remaining fighters. Once you are out of missiles, you should prowl the battlefield looking for enemies and attempting to bait them into dogfights, where you're going to preset your engines to VTOL mode to cut your turn and take them out earlier than expected. Even if they do expect this, there's almost nothing they can do to prevent your transformation as you sit there and watch them try to hit you at every pass. This will of course lead them to having a moment in the game chat where you will have to assert your dominance. Now if you followed all of this, you're going to be bringing in this loadout with only flares and around 20 minutes worth of fuel. For the remainder of the video, I'm going to play some games with the Yak-141 and show you guys how to better fly the thing and hopefully showcase exactly how damn powerful the plane can be in the right hands. I hope you guys enjoy the games, and I'll be there to show you how to play your next plane in the next video. Alright, so for our first game we have the 141 on Golan Heights. The strategy here is to try and pull an early flank by laying low between the hills. This allows us to pop out and throw some of our missiles to chase down their front men. Right now we have what I can only really assume is an ambitious F-14 missile coming to say hello, so we're going to want to lay low, pull some turns to make it miss, which it seems to avoid. In this position, we can be somewhat flexible given my missile loadout, so we aren't really that pressed for position like some of the other fighters will be at this BR.
so we're going to want to set ourselves up to be somewhat of a thorn in their side. This means that we're going to be coming out really far into their flank, so they don't really have much of a chance of seeing us until it's way too late for them to avoid us. Even if it does take a minute, we're going to try to avoid committing to a kill unless we know we're not going to waste one of our limited weapons on an already dead fighter. Since both of those fighters were up high, our raider had a super clear picture, making for some really easy shots. Things aren't usually this easy, but honestly, we take free kills when we can get them.
We're winning.
The timing on our flank seems to have worked out a lot better than expected, catching the enemy team with their pants down and not really much left for a chance to fight back. Matches don't always go this well, which is why both positioning and a little bit of luck is going to go a long way in your games. For our next match, we have Sinai, which has somewhat similar terrain to Golan Heights. This game, we're going to be a little less sparing with our missiles than we were back on Golan. Hopefully this will showcase why it's important to be a little more reserved with the 141 rather than diving in like a Mirage with a Death Wish. This is somewhat high risk, high reward since the 141 struggles to engage with more than one opponent at a time, but has the potential to net a lot more kills. And just like that, I'm already down both of my radar missiles. Normally this would be a bad situation, but I do still have my IR missiles as backup. And now we've made a bad situation worse. No missiles, limited flares, and only 98 cannon rounds left. This is normally the point where you'd eject to deny the kill, but with the Yak 141, there's still a few more tricks left for us to try and make use of. Since this guy was so kind to give us his 6, we may as well start with him. Since both teams have been thinned out, we're going to need to go on patrol. Luckily, we do still have most of our fuel, so it's only a matter of time until we can find a viable target.
Our victory is near.
In dogfights, the 141 relies super heavily on its thrust vectoring to make plays. This includes partial and even full vectoring to perform some pretty crazy maneuvers like the one you just saw me use on the F-16. Normally that fight would be a wash, but thanks to thrust vectoring, we narrowly walked away with the win. This goes to show that even when you don't have missiles, the Yak-141 is still a formidable plane and is a lot stronger than it's given credit for. What do you guys think about the Yak-141? Is it a good fighter? Do you have a better way to play the Yak-141s? If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below, and if you're looking for a community to join, the link to the Discord will be in the description. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, good luck with your games. I hope you all have a good night.